So the first chapter, it's about development of the self in society. So it's unit 1 until unit 5, and that is from pages 3 until 36 in your textbook. And we needed to understand what is stress, what is anxiety, and what's the difference between the two. So in your textbook, it tells us that stress is the reaction caused by ongoing, increasing, or new pressures. So remember that stress is about the current changes. Anxiety is about what the future holds. Okay, so there's a difference. And then so we spoke about the fact that a healthy amount of stress is good for us because it pushes us to move forward. But when we're constantly anxious about the future, when we feel like we have too much to do and too little time, when we feel like we have problems we can't solve, that is when stress is not good for us and it's too much. Because you will remember that we spoke about how too much stress can affect the quality of your life. If you're too busy struggling to cope, you're going to struggle to build, you're going to struggle to do things with your time. And that's why we look at stress. And then we spoke about the 4 stresses. And if you remember them correctly, it's the physical, emotional, social, and environmental. So it will be important when you're studying to know the difference between them and how to identify them. So a physical stress is one that affects your body, and you can feel it at a bodily level. Okay, so lack of sleep, substance abuse, having a poor diet, not exercising, that stuff. Then emotional stresses, so those are the ones where we're talking about feeling worried, being nervous, jealousy, anger, disappointment. It's your feelings, your thoughts, and your reactions to life crisis and change. So remember, then we spoke about the different personalities. So then you have a type A personality, and in that picture, it's an impatient person, a challenger, competitive, obsessed with work. And then we had a type B personality, and those are people who seem to be a little bit more too relaxed, chilled, low stress, creative, procrastinate. Then you have a type C that seems to be more analytical, systematic, always thinking through their things. And then social stresses. So with social stresses, remember, it's about the relationships we have with people and how they affect us. So that is so it's things like peer pressure, experiences of bullying, feeling lonely despite being around people. Those then would be social stresses. And then environmental is about the space that is around you, the physical space around you. So it's the community you're in, obstacles that you're having to face because of your environment. So an environmental stressor, for instance, can be having to study but having no electricity. See, so that's an environmental stressor. Then we need to then talk about how then do you manage your stress. There you have to know the symptoms of stress. So there are things of feeling moody, feeling overwhelmed, not being able to relax, feeling overly negative about yourself. Then you have physical symptoms, so those are headaches, low energy, lack of appetite, struggling to sleep, aches and pains, that sort of thing. And then we have cognitive. So remember, cognition or cognitive is about your brain, so it's all in your mind. So constantly worrying, poor judgment, inability to focus, being pessimistic, that is cognitive. Okay, and then we have then behavioral symptoms, and those are things like you procrastinate or you avoid things, your appetite changes, either eat too much or too little, you seem to be more nervous, jittery, that one, stuttering, for those who don't get it. And then just remember that there's positive and negative stress, and knowing what you call that. Okay, so there's the positive or the good one is the eustress, EUSTRESS, and then the negative one is de-stress. Okay, DISTRESS, not DESTRESS. S-T-R-E-S-S. The DE one is when you're getting rid of stress, but de-stress is the negative one, the one that causes pain in your life. Okay, then there's coping mechanisms and there's ways to manage and management techniques of stress. So a coping mechanism is the way that you think or act or behave in dealing with your stress. And then a management technique are ways in which you can control the amount of stress that you experience in your life, like changing your diet, managing your time, stress management, which we put in 4 parts. Okay, so part 1 just talks about tackling the problem. So you identify and address the problem, you avoid stress where possible, and you let some things go. Okay, so that's already part 1. Then part 2 is taking care of my body. So that is like using exercise, active relaxation, eating well, sleeping well. Again, that is to manage your stress. And then part 3 is dealing with emotions. So learning how to take instant vacation. So in your mind, so how then to let your mind be at ease by doing something different. So you quickly open a book, watch your favorite show, listen to your favorite song, so that it just takes your mind away from everything for that moment, so that you can give your emotions enough time to deal. Okay, and then release emotional tension. And that means actually crying. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to laugh, laugh. If you need to be angry and punch something, punch it. Don't punch someone. And don't punch something you can't afford to fix, because that's just stupid. So punch a pillow. Just whatever will make you feel like you've released that emotional tension after you've given it some time to settle. And then part 4 is making the world better. So just figuring out how then, what good can you do in society? What good can you do for someone else that will put your stress or your emotions in context? Unit 2 then talks about conflict resolution, how to deal with conflict in our lives, and what are the key questions we needed to answer. We needed to answer what is interpersonal and what's intrapersonal conflict. Conflict is a disagreement, an argument, a fight. Resolution is a solution, an agreement to resolve the conflict. Then interpersonal, it's conflict between me and you. Intra, it's conflict within myself. And then what are some of the benefits of conflict? You remember we had to unpack that. So conflict helps us to listen to each other, realize what is important to us, to learn about the people around us. We did a whole list like that. Okay. Opens our eyes to new ideas, because in conflict and when you have to resolve it, you get to hear, oh snap, actually I should have thought of this differently. Thanks for the good idea, even though you were a jerk, but thanks. It also is a chance for you to verbalize your needs. Sometimes the reason we're in conflict with people is they don't know what we want and we don't know what we want. So now in this conflict, we are reminded that, oh snap, in my heart of hearts, this is what I want. So if this relationship will continue, you need to realize that I need those things. Okay. Teaches us to be flexible. Sometimes we're too stubborn, and then in our stubbornness we say things we don't mean. Okay. We learn to listen through conflict, because we can't resolve it without me hearing what you think, and listening attentively. And then we get to good solutions. Some of the greatest inventions or creations were done because conflict had to exist. We communicate better by practicing communication skills. We also learn to create limits with people. Sometimes we have to create boundaries so that we can avoid conflict with certain people, and it only happens after we've had a couple of conflicts, and then we realize, let me create a barrier for us. Then we learn to also deal with our emotions and control them better. Sometimes we make emotional decisions that are very rash, very ill-mannered, and that's why then conflict will teach us how to control our emotions so that we say what we really mean instead of saying what our emotions demand of us. And then we just learn to differentiate ourselves, by learning about the things that bother you, that put you into spaces of conflict. You start to realize maybe this is just who I am. And then you get more confident in this version of yourself. Okay. So we then spoke about conflict resolution skills. So that's things like applying assertive skills. So you approach the person instead of waiting for them to come to you and say, "Hey, ntang, sine problem." Learning not to get defensive. So use "I's" instead of "you." You remember those statements instead of when I say, "Okay, I feel like I'm often doing this. I respect your opinion. So let me tell you what is mine. I understand what you mean. Let me tell you about mine." Okay. Avoiding the blame game. So instead of saying how wrong the other person is, you can say how you are experiencing their behavior. Listening actively. So don't listen for your turn to jump in, but listen to really understand. And then tame your emotions. So don't speak in anger, wait for your anger to subside and then express how you really feel and say why this made you as angry as you were. Show that you're willing to compromise. So figure out where you need to win, where you need to lose. You don't have to win everything. Some things are not worth the fight. In that way, then you keep your priorities clear about why we need to resolve this conflict between the two of us. Avoid bad mouthing the person. It's bad enough if we have a conflict. It's worse when we are finally dealing with a conflict and then I have to tell you that I heard you said this and this and this and this. So bad mouthing people and then later solving the problem doesn't help. Not taking conflict personally. Sometimes there was conflict because we were brainstorming and then you forgot that we want the best ideas when you thought your idea was the best one. So we mustn't take things personally. Conflict will sometimes push us to become better people. So when we're dealing with resolving a conflict, we don't have to always take things so deep. Read the nonverbals of the other person. Sometimes we could avoid a huge explosion by reading how our actions treated other people, and you're like, "Ooh, non-verbally, you already say you're angry. Let me just ask you, did I do something you don't like?" And then figure out how to get to solutions instead of just being right. Sometimes you can be right, but it doesn't solve the problem. So be willing to apologize and forgive. The parts that you did wrong, you don't have to wait until we get to the end of the conflict. You can already from the beginning say, "Look, I know what I said was wrong. Please forgive me. I shouldn't have said what I said." Already diffuse the situation. Focus on the present. And what that means is, when we're dealing with the fact that you didn't call me, we need to address them not calling me. Don't send out and every time I'm walking down when I'm police, like, don't bring receipts of old stuff. Let's finish what we are dealing with now. And then use humor. Sometimes it's okay to just be funny, just to make us realize with yes, we can laugh with each other. Can we just solve this thing? We like each other. Okay. Prioritize the relationship, apply negotiation and mediation skills. So that was that topic on conflict resolution. So really go through the stuff. There are obviously essay type questions that you will have to deal with. So don't be stupid and make unnecessary mistakes. So remember that table about the difference between university, work, and high school. Also about just learning who we are, approaching people, being open to change, things like that. That was important. That table of the transition is very, 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 very important. And remember what we spoke about, that in a way school and work are similar in that you are under someone else. Therefore, there are expectations, there are rules that you have to maintain. While university is this weird in-between place where you have to dictate your own timing, your own behavior, your own things. If you don't have good control and decision-making skills. You'll make dumb decisions. But school and work, you know, there's time to clock in, there's time to leave, there's someone you report to, there are demands that you need to meet, and if you fail at them, there are consequences. But with university, it's really all about you. So that section was very important in being able to advise someone who is in that weird moment. And then we created that lifestyle plan, if you remember, and just developing that was issues of, you know, how much will I sleep, physical exercise, stress management, time management, coping with change. So if you remember correctly, we did one in your workbook. So if you go through your workbook, those pointers we went through about a lifestyle plan, that's enough for you to know this part of the work. All right, good luck, Mandy.